Hello, it's Delegate Hough here for our weekly update. This week, the state Senate had the big hearing on Governor Martin O'Malley's gun control bill. And before the hearing, there was a rally of those who support the Second Amendment. And I have to say, I didn't see anybody down there who was in favor of Governor Martin O'Malley's bill. I'm sure a couple showed up to testify. But of those who were against it, no one can remember a hearing being that big. There was over 2,000 people signed up to testify, and reportedly another 1,000 that were turned away. In fact, the state Senate, for the first time in anyone's memory, had to shut the doors and lock down because there were so many people trying to get into the state Senate. So no one has ever seen a hearing that large. Again, this was on Governor Martin O'Malley's bill, which would force everyone to license handguns and pay a very high fee of $100 plus another couple $100 in background checks and a training course, all just to be able to have your right to keep and bear arms. It also looks to ban certain sporting rifles and magazines. So it was great to see that kind of turnout. And I think from the people that I talked to, they all said this issue isn't about guns. It's about our freedom and our liberties, and I couldn't agree anymore. And it seems like every day one of our freedoms or liberties is under attack in Annapolis, and you can rest assured that I work hard to protect those. One thing, too, that came up I wanted to mention was the Frederick News Post had an editorial today which I strongly disagreed with, which they criticized our sheriff in Frederick County, Sheriff Chuck Jenkins, for coming down and testifying in in opposition to the governor's gun control bill. And he mentioned the fact that by going in and going gun confiscation, you're putting people's lives at risk. And they criticized that was overblown. Well, I can tell you for a fact that it is correct, because the same day we had a hearing on the House side about the Maryland State Police bursting in the door and throwing flash grenades and a no-knock warrant on a guy who 20 years prior had a felony for aiding and abetting the sale of marijuana. But since then he'd been a business owner, hadn't caused any trouble, he had a hunting rifle, so he was breaking the law. But instead of just the state police working with the local sheriff and sending them in, they completely overblew the situation and endangered people's lives. So these are the kinds of things that we're talking about here, and there's just no doubt about it that Governor Martin O'Malley's bill may end up with gun confiscation, because if you go to a licensure, those people who own handguns now that can't afford to pay the license will have to turn their guns into the Maryland State Police. So these are the kinds of issues that we're talking about. They're very important, and it was very heartening to see that large a turnout, that people are paying attention, and that people are going to hold these politicians accountable who work to take away their liberties and their freedoms. So until next week, have a blessed week.